I'd like to welcome Ellen with Seasons Hospice to share with us today the five wishes. I think the five wishes document. It gives you the opportunity to have control over something that's very important, and that is helping to make your end of life decisions. Five wishes is the first living will that talks about your personal, emotional, and spiritual needs, as well as your medical wishes. Ellen will review all of that for you. But Ellen is a registered nurse with over 38 years of nursing experience in critical care, case management, and hospice education. She earned her certified hospice and palliative care nurse distinction in 2010. She is a community educator with Seasons and palliative care, and she has had the privilege to educate thousands of healthcare professionals and community members like us on a variety of topics relating to end-of-life care. So Ellen, I will now turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Judy, and thank you everybody for joining us today for this really, really important presentation. So the topic is the gift of five wishes, and five wishes is a tool that we're going to look at for advanced care planning. And that advanced care planning that I'm talking about has to do with your medical decisions and not anything financial. So this is a medical decisions document, and we can provide these documents to you. But my PowerPoint, because I know a lot of people don't have the document in their hands, really does follow the booklet. So again, I appreciate you joining us today. And I think when we talk about advanced care planning, it can be extraordinarily confusing to everyone. You hear all these words, right? Healthcare agent, surrogate, DNR, living will, agent, power of attorney, advanced directive, healthcare proxy, and it's all just very confusing for all of us. And so I want to make it very simple. This is an incredible tool. It is brought to us by a company called Aging with Dignity, and they're actually celebrating their 25th year with this particular document. So this is what the document looks like, and it is extraordinary, and it is very easy to use for advanced care planning. You'll see on my background, I chose a picture of a gift, and I truly believe that when someone completes a five wishes living will, as we call it, that it is a gift to your family and your friends. And at the back of the booklet, there's a couple quotes, and I chose to put these on here because I think it really says it all and kind of sets the stage for the presentation. The first one says, "It will be a year since my mother passed on. We knew what she wanted because she had five wishes living will. When it came down to the end, my brother and I had no questions on what we needed to do. We had peace of mind." The second one says, "I don't want my children to have to make the decisions I'm having to make for my mother. I never knew there were so many medical options to be considered. Thank you so much for a sensitive and caring form. I can simply fill it out and have it on file for my children." And I will tell you, once you learn about this document, you will hopefully feel the same way. So we know that many, many things in our life are out of our hands, right? Out of our control. And this five wishes document actually gives you a way to control something very important to you, how you would want to be treated if you were to be seriously ill. And it lets you say exactly what you want. And once you complete it and it's signed, it is valid under the laws of most states. For Illinois, it meets the criteria for advanced care planning. I will tell you, there's a lot of different documents out there. There are state documents, living will documents, but you would have to have a computer, know how to use the computer, know where to look and what it's called on the state website. This is a booklet that encompasses all of the things you will need, and I just love it. It is the first living will that talks about your personal, emotional, and spiritual needs, as well as your medical wishes. Now, some of you may have a living will or a healthcare power of attorney already in place, and that's phenomenal. But sometimes those tools don't include your personal, emotional, and spiritual needs. And that's what I like so much about this tool. So it starts out by having you choose the person you want to make your healthcare decisions if you're not able to make those any longer. It lets you say exactly how you wish you should be treated if you're seriously ill. And this document was created with the help of the American Bar Association and the Commission on Law and Aging. And so it, like I said, has been around for 25 years. You might have seen it on one of the morning shows or PBS, and it's a phenomenal tool. So the wishes, so there's 5 different wishes, and we're going to go through those one by one. Wish 1 is for the person you want to make your healthcare decisions if you can't talk for yourself. Wish 2 is the kind of medical treatment you either do or don't want. Wish 3 is about how comfortable you would like to be. Wish 4 is how you want people to treat you. And wish 5 is to express what you want your loved ones to know. And maybe you can't say it verbally, and this tool kind of helps you do that. So how did this begin? A really interesting story of a gentleman named Jim Towie, and he worked actually with Mother Teresa for a year, and he lived in a hospice she ran out in Washington, D.C. And he was really inspired by the experience, but he also felt like he needed a way to help families plan ahead and cope with serious illness. So it resulted in this wonderful tool. So how can it help your family? Well, it's an avenue for communication. It's not easy for people to talk about, our mortality or end of life choices. And so it's a tool that we can use to kind of start that dialogue. And I think most importantly, your family is not going to have to guess what you want. And a lot of us know what we do and don't want, but also a lot of us don't know how many choices are out there and for medical services. And your family will know what you want. It protects your family if you become seriously ill, because they're not going to have to make these hard choices without knowing your wishes. And again, I meet with patients and families every day, and I ask them, do you know what your mom would have wanted? And they said, no, she would never talk about that. And so it makes it really hard for that family to know if they're doing the right thing and making those right decisions. And then it frees up your family to be there when you need them the most. They're not struggling with these decisions. It is a better experience for one and all to be able to know, you know what, I don't agree, but these were mom's wishes and we're following them. All right. So again, this tool also honors spiritual and faith traditions, and you'll see a lot of churches use these and faith communities and have workshops on completing these particular documents. And faith and spiritual traditions can play a huge role in our lives, and we believe it should be part of planning for dignified care at end of life as well. And I think we know our transitions or our traditions can help guide our healthcare decisions and our preferences for medical care and for comfort. And many of us in times of illness find comfort in scripture, meditation, prayer, sacraments, or other readings. And again, an advanced care plan that doesn't include these may miss some important things that you want to include. All right, so who should use 5 wishes? 5 wishes is an advanced care planning document. It is not a DNR or do not resuscitate document. It is for anybody over the age of 18, whether they're single or married parents or, your adult children, your friends. Everyone should consider, if something were to happen to you, how do you want to be treated when you're seriously ill? And I know we don't want to think about that, but things do happen. Accidents happen, strokes happen, and those kind of things. So we're just planning for the future. And again, it is not a do not resuscitate document. That's a very different document. One of the most important things is talking to your primary care physician. This is a great document, even before you fill it out, to go and talk to your attending physician. Did you know you can make an appointment with your attending physician strictly for advanced care planning discussion? And this occurred about 3 years ago, where physicians get reimbursed for this particular discussion because it's so important. So anyone at any time, and I encourage you to make an appointment with your attending physician for advanced care planning discussions, and bring this tool along and talk about your wishes with your attending physicians. So this 5 wishes document, as I said, is accepted in 42 states currently. It is accepted in Illinois, and again, it meets our criteria for advanced care planning. If anyone is close to the border of Indiana or has friends in Indiana, Indiana is currently not a participating state. Now, if someone does fill out a document like this, or maybe you're traveling to Indiana and you have this document, it may not meet their technical requirements, but most healthcare professionals would prefer to see something to know what your wishes were. In some of the states, there's some different forms that need to be filled out. My mother lived in Wisconsin, so to meet her criteria, I had to print out an additional form that 5 wishes provided, so that it would meet their criteria for 5 wishes. This document also comes in currently 28 languages plus in Braille. So that is incredible. It's incredible to be able to read something in your own language and be able to understand what we're talking about. We typically provide English and Spanish, but through 5 Wishes, Aging with Dignity, they do have other copies available. The thing you are supposed to do with those copies is to, they're for interpretation only, and you would still need to fill out an English copy. All right, so I built in some questions along the way, and we'll take questions at the end, but I anticipated these questions. So number 1, should I have an attorney complete the 5 wishes form? This form does not require an attorney. You do not need that for advanced care planning. Is it a do not resuscitate form? No, it is not a do not resuscitate form. Again, that's something that is for someone with a terminal diagnosis or a very limited life expectancy, somebody who may lose their ability to make their decisions, and that's something you complete with your physician. Does 5 Wishes name a financial power of attorney? And again, 5 Wishes only applies to healthcare advanced care planning. So what if you decide to fill one of these out today, and then a week from now you decide you don't want it? You can just simply destroy all copies of the 5 Wishes, or write revoked across all copies of the document in all pages. Can a married couple complete 1 copy of 5 Wishes? No, everyone needs to complete their own copy. All right. So wish 1. Wish 1 is really important. It is the person you want to make your healthcare decisions if you can no longer speak for yourself. And you're going to name that person who you trust to follow your wishes and make those choices. You will hear this called a variety of different things. You will hear it called healthcare agent, or you will hear healthcare power of attorney. I'm more familiar with healthcare power of attorney in Illinois. We like to use that term a lot, or proxy decision maker. So they're all kind of the same thing, but it is the person that you want to make your healthcare decisions if your physician finds you're no longer able to make your healthcare choices based on your condition, or and another healthcare professional agrees. So they only speak for you when you are unable to do so. So choosing your healthcare agent is one of the most important things you can do with this document. And it's about picking the right person to be your healthcare power of attorney or your healthcare agent. It should be somebody that you know very well, that cares about you, and who can make very difficult decisions. And it is going to be someone who needs to stand up for you so your wishes are followed. And often in families, this can be really, really challenging. I'm one of 7 children. My mother completed this document, and she was very strong about her wishes. And even though maybe we didn't agree, she had named her healthcare power of attorney, and we were able to say, you know what, mom documented all this. This is what she wanted. And so you really want to pick a person that is close by and not across the country, because if you do have a serious illness, it's better to have them here in the state so they can see you and be available, to make those decisions. Now, some of us don't have someone right here, and that's okay too. You will know best the right person. Sometimes a spouse or family member may not be the best choice because they're so emotionally involved, but sometimes family members are the best choice. I happen to be married to someone who doesn't want to talk about advanced care planning. And my best friend is a nurse, and being a nurse, I know exactly what I do and don't want. So she is actually my healthcare power of attorney for me. And so you know best on who will be able to make those decisions for you. And I have at the top of here, selecting a backup driver. On the document, there's a place for 2. And so what I like people to consider is, I always like to have a plan B. So if maybe the first person is unwilling or unable to participate as healthcare power of attorney, then we would go to the next person listed. So really important. Actually, there's a place for a third one in there, but again, it's really important to choose a backup driver, as I call it. All right, so kind of some disclaimers on the healthcare power of attorney. They certainly need to be over the age of 18, and they can't be your health provider. So they couldn't be like your physician, or, the nurse coming out to see you, or an employee. So you're, those kind of things. So one of the last, and I put it in red, I know a lot of you can't see this, but it's really important, once you decide who you want your healthcare power of attorney to be, to ask them if they're willing to be healthcare power of attorney. And the booklet helps, because in the booklet, it's listed what their responsibilities are, and we're going to go over some of them. So this is great to show someone who's not maybe familiar with healthcare power of attorney and the role they have, so they can make choices about your medical care when they can't speak for you. They're going to help to interpret your instructions and your wishes. So maybe you want this, but you don't want that, and they'll be able to interpret that for you. They can consent to admission to assisted living or a hospital or nursing home, take any kind of legal action to carry out your wishes that they need, maybe donate tissues or organs. They can apply for Medicare or Medicaid or other social programs in your name if you're unable to. They can approve release of your medical records. They can move you to another state if they need to carry out your particular wishes, and they can authorize or refuse to authorize any medication or procedure to help with pain. So it tells you a lot of things about their responsibilities. There's also a line in the booklet where you can write in what other responsibilities you might want to have. And so like I have a copy here, my example copy, please consult with my 7 children, regarding my care. But again, the authority for that decision lies with that healthcare power of attorney based on your wishes. So again, what if you change your mind about that healthcare power of attorney? Something has changed, right? So again, you destroy all copies of the form, tell, your family, tell your doctor that you want to change your healthcare power of attorney, get a new form, destroy those, write revoked on it, and re-sign the new copy. So questions regarding wish 1. What happens if you don't have a healthcare power of attorney or healthcare power of attorney or healthcare agent or proxy? What we do is follow what we call the Illinois Surrogate Healthcare Act priority order. So if the person has a guardian, we start with that person. If you're married, it would be the spouse. I always tell people, if you're married and you're separated and you're not divorced, then that spouse would still have the ability to make your healthcare decisions. And that may not be the person that you want to do that. So then we go to an adult child or parent, adult sibling, adult grandchildren. Sometimes we have to go to a friend, or sometimes we see guardian of the estate, but they just haven't been named a healthcare power of attorney on that. So, all right. So wish number 2 is the kind of medical treatment you want or don't want. And I love this quote. It says, "I believe that my life is precious and I deserve to be treated with dignity. When the time comes that I'm very sick and not able to speak for myself, I want the following wishes and any other directions I've given to my healthcare agent to be respected and followed." So as a caregiver, some of the things I would choose to tell my caregiver, and if you don't want something in this booklet, you cross it off and initial it. As a nurse, we initial everything when we cross it off. So cross it off and initial it if you don't agree with something. So the first one says, "I don't want to be in pain. I want my doctor to give me enough medication to relieve my pain, even if it means that I'll be drowsy or sleep a little bit more." The next one, "I don't want anything done or admitted by my doctors or nurses with the intention of taking my life." And lastly, "I want to be offered food and fluids and kept warm and dry." So it talks about life support. And when we think of life support, many different things go through our minds. And so it gives you an idea because there's so many different medical options. So we think about devices that help you breathe as far as life support. So that ventilator. Some people think of food and water supplied by medical devices or those feeding tubes. Cardiopulmonary resuscitation, so CPR, major surgery, blood transfusion, dialysis, anything that's keeping you alive. Now, a lot of people think that oxygen is life support. If you're on the ventilator, that is life support, but we do use oxygen in end-of-life care to keep people comfortable and help them with their respiration. So that's not necessarily, life support per se. It's more towards comfort measures. So in this section, and it's a long section, and I will tell you it's very, very thought-provoking. They give you some different scenarios to look at. And it's very hard sometimes to know what you would and wouldn't want. And I always encourage you to talk to your family, your friends, and your doctors about these particular situations. So it gives you, and I have my handy copy here, it gives you 4 kind of examples. If you're close to death, if you're in a coma and never expected to wake up, if you have permanent and severe brain damage and are not expected to recover, or any other condition where you don't want to be kept alive. So in this section, and I'll give you just one example. So if I'm in a coma and never expected to wake up or recover, and if my doctor and another healthcare professional both decide that I'm in a coma and I'm not expected to wake up or recover, and I have brain damage, and life support would only delay the moment of my death, I choose one of the following. I don't want that life support. I do not want life support if it's been started. I want it stopped. Or I want to have life support, and I will, trust in my physician if it's not helping in my condition. So it gives you these different scenarios that are quite catastrophic, but I think some of us know what we want to do in some of those situations, but also most of us probably haven't thought about what I'd want in those situations. So like I said, it's thought provoking. There's no right or wrong answer. If you want everything done, then everything, in their power will be done. But it also, gives that opportunity to say, you know what, I don't want to be kept alive by artificial means. So what if I don't, questions for that one, what if I don't know what I want right now regarding some of the treatments? And that's where I encourage you to talk to your friends, family, and healthcare professionals, and no pressure. So if you have a copy of this document and only want to start out with your healthcare power of attorney, that's absolutely fine. You don't have to complete the whole thing. It is your tool. So at least having that healthcare power of attorney and maybe having a discussion with them and saying, well, right now I don't know, is okay. What if I want everything done? And I meet with folks all the time who want everything done, but we don't really know what everything is. And so that's why we need to always consult with our healthcare team. And when we say we want everything done, again, what is everything? And we look at the benefit of burden of some of those treatments. And again, trusting on our healthcare professionals to give their input about the benefit of certain treatments. So how do I change it if I already have a living will? And I'm not asking you to destroy any of the documents that you have. If you already have a living will that you're happy with and it's been completed, that's fantastic. With this, you can add certain things with your psychosocial, spiritual type decisions. So we'll go through those next. So wish 3, 4, and 5 all deal with your personal, spiritual, and emotional wishes, which are very important. And I think most of us want to be treated with dignity near the end of life. So we would want people to do the things that are written on 3, 4, and 5, if they can be done, if possible. And sometimes we may not be able to do some of those things. It's not required by law, but these are your wishes. Now, I do come from a hospice perspective, and the word hospice is incredibly scary for everyone. But I think of wish 3 as hospice kind of focused, because we talk about keeping people comfortable and not doing aggressive treatment, but treatments focused at symptom management and comfort care. And so I really think this is kind of hospice here. The first little bullet point says, I don't wish to be in pain. And I don't think any of us want to raise our hand and say we want to be in pain at end of life. However, I think a lot of us fear, the medications and what it can possibly do to our bodies. And if our patients show, or if you show signs of depression or nausea or shortness of breath or hallucinations, I want my care team or caregivers to do what they can can to help me. And that's what we consider symptom management. I don't want my patients to be nauseated or short of breath or constipated or a variety of different things. And so my care is provided at management of those symptoms. I wish to have a cool, moist cloth put on my head if I have a fever. I want my mouth and lips dry, or lips kept moist to stop dryness. I'm sorry. I wish to have warm baths often and always be kept clean and fresh. I want to be massaged with warm oils. I want my favorite music played when possible until the time of my death. I wish to have personal care like shaving, nail clipping, hair brushing, teeth brushing, as long as they don't cause pain or discomfort. I wish to have religious readings and well-loved poems read when I'm near death. And I wish to know about options for hospice care to provide medical, emotional, and spiritual care for me and my loved ones. And so it is kind of definitely aimed at comfort care. And I think all those things sound beautiful. If you disagree with one of those little bullet points, again, all you have to do is cross it off. And I always put my initials, and then it won't be, honored. Wish for is for how you want people to treat you. And the first bullet point says, I wish to have people with me when possible. I want someone to be with me when it seems that death may come at any time. I wish to have my hand held and be talked to when possible, even if I don't respond to voices. I wish to have others by my side praying for me when possible. I wish to have have members of my faith community told that I'm sick and asked to pray for me and visit me. I wish to be cared for with kindness and cheerfulness and not sadness. I wish to have pictures of my loved ones in my room near my bed. And if I'm not able to control bowel or bladder functions, I wish for my clothes and bed linens to be kept clean and have them changed as soon as they become soiled. And then finally, the place where I want to die, which for a lot of us is very important. Some may be afraid to pass away in your home. Some, want to do everything to get back home. And we try to do our best on hospice to make sure that that wish, if at all possible, we can achieve that. Wish 5 is for what you want your loved ones to know. And I think these are beautiful. I wish to have my family and friends know that I love them. I wish to be forgiven for the times I've hurt my family and others. I wish to have my family, friends, and others know I forgive them for when they have hurt me in my life. And I wish for my family and friends to know that I do not fear death itself. I think it is not the end, but a new beginning for me. And I love this one. I wish for all my family members to make peace with each other before I die, if possible. I wish for my family and friends and caregivers to respect my wishes, even if they don't agree with them. And I wish for my family and friends to get counseling if they've had trouble with my death. I want memories of my life to bring them joy and not sorrow. And just so you know, from a hospice perspective, we offer grief support for our patients' family or friends, whoever they have included in their circle. We don't define what a family is. And so grief support is available for 13 months after someone passes. So just so you know that. So signing this 5 wishes form. So this particular form has to be witnessed, and it has to be witnessed by 2 adults over the age of 18. And it cannot be who you've chosen as your healthcare agent, healthcare power of attorney, proxy, or surrogate. It cannot be, say you're living in a nursing home, it couldn't be the owner of that nursing home. It can't be if you have caregivers, it can't be those folks, or someone financially responsible for the person's health. This is huge, that that person cannot be related by blood, marriage, or adoption. And I think this is kind of challenging. When we witness a form, and a form such as this, all they need to do is be sure that you have filled this out, that you haven't been coerced to do that, and they're not agreeing with what you've written in this document. They're just saying that they witnessed you signing this particular document. So often it's usually a friend or clergy, or a neighbor or someone that you can have witness it. But it's very important. Now in Illinois, it does not have to be notarized. So once you complete whatever sections of this you want to complete, you would have your witnesses available and sign it within their presence, and then list, there's a place for them to sign it. And I think what's most important is once you've completed this form, so please, please, please make sure you have those witnesses sign it as well as you, but then talk to whoever that healthcare agent, healthcare power of attorney that you have chosen. And I always think that it's good to talk to them before to make sure they want to do that. And we want to make copies. So we want everybody to have a copy of this particular document. A copy is valid. Some do say the booklet is, let me see how many pages here, 12 pages total. It can be a little cumbersome to copy, but it's important for your doctor to have a copy, your healthcare power of attorney to have a copy. The physician's office can scan it into your medical record, so it is there. For you, this isn't something we're going to put in that bank lockbox. We're going to keep it nearby and close so that when we need it, it is with you. We always encourage you to bring it with you to the hospital, or if you are going to a nursing home, so that they have it and they have a copy there on file. And again, anything you don't want or you don't feel like filling out in this document, it is your document. You don't have to do. If you don't agree with something, you don't have to have it included. Just mark it off. There are on page 11, one of the final pages, there is wallet cards, so that your name would be on here, and then your primary care physician and where to find your legal documents, which is always a great thing to have along with you. So that brings us to, and I don't know how much time I spent, that brings us to question and answer time. I think I'm going to bring the slide up. And I'm here to answer your questions, and I'd really like your thoughts. I know a lot of you can't see this document, but your thoughts on a document such as this. So I think we have a raised hand. Did anybody text in the chat box? Let's see. So okay, Trish has a question. Are you unmuted?
Yes.
Hi,
Can you hear
Trish.
me? Okay, hi. I don't have a question, I have a comment. Having been a hospice nurse for years and years and years, I think this is wonderful. This is
Wonderful.
this is something that we so need to share with the patients, the families. Best friends are critically important in hospice,
Right.
It's great. It serves a great purpose, and I just love it.
Well,
I can't wait
thank
to
you,
get mine.
Trish. Yes, it's phenomenal. It's just phenomenal. It's hard to believe it's been around for 25 years. And thank you so much for being a hospice nurse. And you know what we face, right? And it's just so much easier when we've had these discussions and we know what mom or dad would have wanted.
Yeah. Well, I
And then-
spent 44 years in healthcare and the last 15 in hospice. And
Okay.
I also have a master's in social work, which is incredibly helpful. So
Sure.
this just kind of brings it all together.
And it's simple. It's, it's written in a language most of us can understand without these big words. And sometimes lawyers haven't liked this document. Why don't they like it? Because there's not enough lawyer speak in it. And that's why we love it so much, because we can actually understand
Yeah.
what they're talking about. And
Well,
yeah,
this is so important. Hospice is so important. And I'm sure you'll agree that it's something that's it's a calling. It's not a job.
it's not a job.
I
No,
feel I was born to do that, so.
right,
Either
right.
hate it or
14
you love
years.
it.
Yeah. 14 years for me and counting and
Okay,
not going
okay,
anywhere.
good.
Yeah. So
Yay.
thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sure. I think Steph has a question. Are you unmuted, Steph?
Yeah, at the very end, I sort of took a few notes.
Okay.
At the very end, you said, make copies and to individuals, and what, are these supposed to be delivered to these people before you get sick? Or,
So as soon as you fill them out, take that time. The doctor's office can do it for you. So if you go in and you're talking to your doctor and you're sitting there filling it out, and he gets somebody to witness it for you, they can scan it into their medical record. They can make you some copies. But really important for your healthcare power of attorney, particularly, and your attending physician, to have a copy of this document.
okay, so can you slowly dictate to me, there were like 5 people or something that you were supposed to get a copy to, so I want to write that down.
So you're going to keep the original.
Okay. All right.
And then your attending physician that you see needs a copy,
Okay.
and your healthcare power of attorney that you named.
Does that mean, what does that mean?
So that
Does that-
healthcare power of attorney is the one who is going to make those healthcare decisions if you are unable to do that for yourself.
Okay, so in my case, it would probably be my daughter.
Okay,
So that's who would get it, right?
correct. And then
Okay,
remember, it's really important, if your daughter's unwilling or unable, to always have, a backup person.
okay,
So think about the second person, that if maybe she's not feeling well herself and can't, do those duties, then who would we go to next?
okay. Okay, and then, so now we're up to 4. So who's the 4th?
That's about it.
Okay, so there wasn't.
No,
1,
there's
2,
not
3.
5.
So I only wrote down 3 people, or,
Okay, so you're keeping the original, your attending physician, and your healthcare power of attorney. And then if
Right.
you've chosen that backup to the power of attorney,
okay. And that's it.
that's it.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
I want to thank you very much for doing this and hopefully forcing me to do this with my wife. My
Good. I think
daughter's
it's,
daughter's
yeah.
been after me to do this, and so hopefully this week we actually will do it.
Good, good. And it's easy to go through. It's a very easy read. And like I said, you can do it in steps, right? You can do it in steps and start thinking about that healthcare power of attorney, which is really, really very important. That person who can talk for you if you cannot. And one of the things, some of you may know absolutely what you want, but yet the healthcare power of attorney, maybe your children don't want to talk about it, right? We don't ever want to lose our parents, and we don't want to talk about it. So what I encourage people to do is have a nice dinner and invite them, your children over, and get a copy of this and put it on everybody's plates and say, we're going to have a talk about advanced care planning, because not only do you need it, but your children need it as well. We all need a copy, right? Or not a copy, but we all need our own advanced care planning. Trish? You're on mute, so go ahead and unmute.
Piggybacking on what you just said, you're right. A lot of people don't want to talk about it, but once you bring it up and after the talk, they're thrilled that they did it.
Right. And everybody always asks for more copies of this because my neighbor, my whatever, this is so interesting. And we've struggled with these things and we've struggled with the terminology. And there's just so many medical choices, you know, out there. And to learn about, you know, through your physician, you know, some of those things. So yeah, try to open that conversation, and it's a starting point. And usually when I present this to groups in person, I always put a bow on it because I do believe it's such a gift to our families and friends to know exactly what you would have wanted.
Thank you, Ellen. Rebecca has
Hi.
a response.
Yeah. Hi, Ellen. This is Becky.
Hi, Becky.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciated it. I'm fortunate enough that my parents are still alive. I am not married.
Mhm.
And so when it comes to choosing a healthcare agent, do I have to prioritize one parent over the other? Or can I list them as like a quote unquote unit, which they are after 56 years of marriage?
Oh my goodness, congratulations. You know, usually they're listed separately. You know, certainly they're going to make those decisions together and you know that, but usually they're listed separately and not together as one entity.
Is it possible then to list a fourth person who's not a family member?
Yes, again, it doesn't have to be a family member, and most people think that it does. It does not. It just really needs to be the person who you think can speak for you and who will stand up to honor your wishes. And that can be really challenging when people are, maybe your sibling or your parents or something say one way or whatever, but it's, this was your decision. I'm going to stand up because this is what she wanted, right? So it could be anybody that you trust enough to talk for you if you can't speak.
Okay. And then I have a question about being close to death.
Yes.
And this is probably just something I have to sort out on my own here. I previously marked that I want to have life support treatment if my doctor believes it could help.
Sure.
But that would mean recovery. Isn't that what that means?
Well, I mean, it can mean a lot of different things. So, say you've had a massive brain bleed stroke that's left you in a persistent vegetative state or something like that. Are you close to death? Yes. It just is so different in every case. So it's really hard to give you one solid answer for that because there's just so many different facets. So again, if you're trusting that, if your physician says, you know what, there's no benefit to this life support, it's not going to change anything, it's not going to change the outcome, we're just, keeping this body alive, that's essentially what you've said. Could that be in the acute phase, or could that be down the road, years later, right? As you haven't recovered from that condition. So it's really hard. It's having that trust with your attending physician really to help make those decisions.
Is it appropriate then to add a note to that statement that it depends upon the quality of life?
Correct.
And
right.
And being able to participate in activities of daily living.
Correct, correct. And there's a section in that particular section in wish two that lists any other conditions where I don't wish to be kept alive. And so you can write extra notes in there. So say I've had that massive brain bleed, I'm in a persistent vegetative state, maybe I'm still on the ventilator and they're seeing no improvement or no improvement in that condition, then, you want to give it some time, right? To see, but, in their opinion, it is just delaying death, that extra life support. So hopefully that kind of helps.
Yeah,
But you can write
that-
in here anything you want, right?
okay. Thank you so much, Ellen. And
Sure.
I just one last thing. I think as a society, we're really divorced from death. You think about how people used to be brought into their home, placed on the kitchen table, washed down, dressed, prepared for all of that. And there's another group out there whose name I'm not remembering, but I would encourage people to look into. And I think it's called Talking About Death. And there are these wonderful dinners that people can go to, and you're given cards, and it lasts for a couple of hours, and you meet with friends and you talk about death.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Death Cafe.
That could be. That's not the name I remember, but
it could be something like that, but that's a great idea.
yeah, I actually did. I'm not Jewish, but there's a Jewish rendition of it that I actually attended. And Judy, I will get that for you so that you can post it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've held this in the past. It's and it was a Jewish presenter, and it's called the Death Cafe. And you generally eat cake and drink tea and coffee and just discuss death. And it's bringing about the awareness of how short life can be. But it's also stating that you also sort of find yourself and start realizing some things that you would like to do that you have not done and to complete. So yeah, but definitely, Becky, please share it with me more.
I sure will. Thank you.
I have one comment for Ellen.
Yeah.
I tried to get online and go copy the 5 wishes, but it said I needed a password.
That's really weird. We're finding that some people it didn't work for and others it did. Like I sent it to Becky and she couldn't open it for some reason. Now, this tool we can provide from Seasons Hospice, now Accent Care. If you were to go on, if you wanted these and are not getting them from us, they actually cost like $5 each from Aging with Dignity. But we buy a lot of quantities of these because I work with groups all over the Chicagoland area. And so we can hand those out to make sure all of you have it. But we can certainly get some in your hands. Judy will take care of that. I'll need to drop many more off to Judy, but we can provide those to you. And like I said, don't forget everyone about the fact that it does come in those 28 languages plus Braille, which is pretty incredible to see. They have worked very hard to have a variety of different languages translated. But again, we would need to have you sign the English copy because our language here is primarily English. So they're stamped already with translation purposes only on those other languages.
Ellen,
Mm-hmm.
I actually ordered a large number of these from Aging with Dignity in Russian, Vietnamese, and Bosnian for work. And they're all bilingual. And so you are able to sign that copy.
Oh, the new ones are.
Yes.
That's
yes.
fantastic. That's great. Wonderful. Thank you for that. I haven't seen any of the new ones because we have quite a stockpile. So that's great. So it's in both languages. Wonderful.
Are there any more questions or comments? I see Connie unmuted herself and Francis as well. I don't know if you all had questions or comments.
Yes, I do. I would like to know if I could get a copy of that, I think it's 5 wishes.
Mhm.
And also, you was talking about another item before this that you had, and I would like to have that one too. It was 2 things that was talked about today that I'd like to have a copy of.
Yeah, I only have the 5 wishes booklet. Ellen, do you have anything additional?
I do not.
Okay.
You mean
Well,
from
that's what I
another
got.
presentation or?
And I think what we need to realize and recognize is that there are a lot of power of attorney documents out. Some are, the wording is different. It may not give you all the options and choices. What I've realized just as of today is that the 5 wishes booklet does give you additional options. Some of them can just be so specific and not address all of your needs, but I think this 5 wishes gives you an opportunity to think about things that you may not have thought about in terms of being supported during your end of life stages or your desires. And I would also highly stress power of attorney for finances. Healthcare is very important, but you have to have that financial piece in place for whoever's making your decisions. If you need additional caregiver services, that person would then be able to provide those services for you because they would be able to write out a check or have access to your finances. So also definitely please consider the power of attorney for finances.
So my question, Judy and Ellen, is, I mean, first of all, thank you so much. And I'm sorry that that your gallery isn't full of people today, because I think the information is just so important to be and not easily listened to because people don't want to talk about it. And yet we're all on the same path, right?
Right, we are.
So thank you.
That's the only way out.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you, number one. And somebody used the word appropriate a little bit ago. And I had written a list of people that I would like to have been here today. And so is it okay if I share the recording with them, Judy and Ellen? Okay. And number two, Valentine's Day is coming up. Is it appropriate to send, maybe with a bow around it, Ellen, a copy of this for Valentine's Day because we love them?
I love that. I think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And that's the whole reason, you know, for something like this, you know, it is such a gift, you know, and I just can't tell you how many families I've worked with who have these things in place, and it's so much easier because then it just frees you, you know, from that stress and all that decision making, and to know that, you know, I don't want mom to go, but this is, and like I said, with my own mother, you know, the hospice, it was in Wisconsin, said, you're the easiest family I've ever worked with. You know, even though there's 7 of you, you're all on the same page. And I said, well, our mother was very, very strong-willed, and she knew what she did and did not want. It was hard. It was devastating, but to take that piece of that decision-making out of it was just wonderful. So we could just be with her and comfort her and hold her hand and take care of her instead of making those tough decisions. So,
Yeah, and fighting about them,
and
perhaps.
fighting about them, yes. And having those family issues, yes, absolutely. And
And
like I
that's-
said, you just blame mom then, this is what she wanted, you know, and yeah, and it's never easy, you know, but I hope that section 3 comforts some of you, because again, hospice can be so scary. You look at Trish and I, and we're not scary, are we, Trish?
No.
And we're very, very much, you know, we're very passionate about what we do, and passionate about, you know, caring for people at end of life. It is just, you know, an honor to be, you know, with our patients patients and our families. And anything we can do to educate, more people and take the scary out of it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Loved it.
you.
My wife worked in hospice, so I'm familiar with hospice.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
But it just occurred to me, and we probably can't talk about this because it just opens up a big area. But I just thought of, we're talking about dealing with this when you're entering your senior years, we'll call it, or your mature years, and you're gonna die, and you are trying to avoid it, or you know what you want. But then it all of a sudden occurred to me, and this is probably one of the reasons I'm really very bad at this, is my parents never dealt with death worth a damn. And so I avoid it like the plague. Have you thought of somehow reaching out to, we'll say, I don't know what age, at least teenagers or just a little before that, so they don't have this attitude that I have?
Definitely. And that's, I work with people from so many different cultures and race and faith and whatever. And I think most of us don't talk about death and dying, and we are making progress. And again, this tool is for people over the age of 18. But you know how we felt when we were 18 or 19 or 25, right? Nothing's ever going to happen to us. And that's why I always encourage these dinners, because everyone should have a copy, right? Everyone should have, at least a healthcare power of attorney selected, and then kind of build from there on their wishes. And certainly those are going to change over time, right? Over time, your lifetime and your health condition and how you feel about things. And that's fine. You just destroy it and make a new copy. But yeah, we're trying one person at a time. So, and I can always, Judy knows I can always, do another one of these. And, that's what my role at Seasons is, to educate the community, and absolutely love what I have the ability to do. So thank you all for taking time out of your day. And like I said, we'll get you as many copies as you need. And
I'd like to make one more comment. And
Might I jump in with one other thing, is that dying or death with dignity does have resources for children online. And so those are very worth looking into, especially for situations such as childhood cancer or other fatal diseases for children. So sad, but they are available.
And Five Wishes does have a tool for children. It's appropriate from like age 5 to teenage years. I've seen a copy, and they can draw pictures, and it's very different, of course, than the adult version, but there is a resource there as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Ellen. Thank you for mentioning that information, giving the information, Becky. I also wanted to add to Steph, it was important for me, and I didn't realize this until just about 2 years ago, that it was very important to me as a mother to ask questions at the doctor's office with my daughter. My oldest daughter now is 23, my youngest is 20, but after the age of 18, they are considered basically adults. And so if there's nothing in place, that doctor doesn't have to listen to me to give a reply or response. So I've encouraged my daughters to do a 5 wishes or power of attorney for healthcare, just and to make me aware of what they want, because we all want different things.
Right.
Some of us want the big glam and so forth, and some of us just want to be just plain and just let it happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you all. Thank you, Ellen. Are there any more questions or comments, responses? Francis, I think you spoke. If not, I guess we can conclude, but Ellen, thank you so very much. If any of you need booklets, I do have a list going here of those who have made requests. Please let me know. You can call me or email me, and then I can reach out to Ellen for more copies.
And I'll be getting those to you. Okay,
Thank you. And I'll send the
Thank you,
recording.
Ellen.
thank you, everybody. Nice
Okay.
meeting all of you today.
For the presentation. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Stay
Been
warm
very
and healthy,
helpful.
everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Monique. You're welcome. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.